Hello, guys. Welcome back to the new DM podcast. It's been a really long time since I dropped a video. I don't know what my voice sounds like or what this audio is going to be like because I have been, I have a good excuse this time. I actually came down with, unfortunately, with the COVID-19 virus, like many other people in America and in the world. But I am surviving it so far, knock on wood. Um, but I thought I would go ahead and since feeling a little bit more high energy today, to talk about how um, recently last month when they did the big reveal about the products. This is not like breaking news or anything anymore. Um, but Dungeons and Dragons has a new starter set for RPG beginners, so they're doing a starter set again. And it's like it seems like now every couple of years when they decide to do a new edition or they're doing like a whole new retooling from Wizards of the Coast, they come up with a new starter set. And let's see what it says about this one briefly, and then we're going to talk about I'll briefly talk about some of the ones that I do own because I've been picking up starter sets and compare them to see what they're offering versus what they've offered in the past. I thought would be a good idea. So this came from Dicebreaker, and it's by Alex Meehan. She's a contributor there. This article previously had stated that Spelljammer was originally released for D&D 3.3 edition. However, this has been corrected to D&D third edition. What? This editor's note makes no sense. Spelljammer was originally released for D&D third edition. However, it has been corrected to D. I think what they mean is they meant to say D&D second edition because that's when it was. Anyway, the new starter set for the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons is set to be released later this year. Announced during the live stream, the starter set will reportedly be different from the original set. How? The fresh starter set will contain everything players and dungeon masters need to begin their journey. Blah blah blah. What? How is it different? The original starter set release features a rule book. Yeah, uh, takes players up to fifth level. I'm still using this material, by the way. I actually took one of the pre-gen characters in this before I got COVID. I was playing. It was just bad timing because I was gonna start playing my. I figured it's a new campaign, so maybe I'll just use a whole different character I'm not familiar with. So I used one of the pre-gens, which I think was like a halfling, some kind of rogue. I think a halfling rogue. I never played rogue that much before. Um, this original or this one that came out in 2014, um, or 2012, some around that time when 5e was first introduced, might have been 2014, and it had It came with an adventure, the Lost Mine of Fandelver. Besides the new starter set for the tabletop role-play game, Return of the Stealth and the Return of the Spelljammer setting, originally released for second edition, was also announced. Okay, but focus on the starter set. Um, the new starter set for D&D 5e will be released as a Target exclusive on August 1st. Yeah, this is a terrible article. It doesn't really, sorry, but it doesn't really tells you much what the components are or what you can expect. So I think we'll just end it here because I don't want to waste too much energy on this and just get into what the previous starter sets have chronologically been offering in the past, at least since TSR sold over to Wizards of the Coast. And I don't claim to have all of them, but I do have a fair share amount. Okay, guys, I apologize. I did find the information. The writer did go ahead and I just overlooked it. But basically, here's the information that I was looking for. How this new starter set is gonna be different from what we had before. It's a more streamlined and easier to understand experience. The fresh starter set contains everything players and dungeon masters need to begin their journey through the world of 5e, including a 32-page book, basic rules. Um, it mentioned during the live stream that the set would feature digital aspect. That's the main thing, though it's yet to be confirmed what this will be. So basically, some digital assets will be added alongside the rules, character sheets, and dice featured in the upcoming starter set. Um, a new adventure. So it features a new adventure called Dragons of Stormwreck Isle will be included. The adventure will see first level characters getting wrapped up in a war between rival dragons as they discover the secrets of Mysterious Island, which is pretty cool. I mean, I guess if you want to introduce new players in, that's the way to do it, to actually include another adventure. So it might be worth picking up for that, even if you already know how to play or already DM games in the past, or are not a complete newbie to a complete 5e newbie, because you will get an adventure out of it. Um, okay, so that's the details on that.
All right, guys. So, as I mentioned previously, there have been a lot of box sets or starter sets, and I don't own all of them by any means, but I do own my fair share. And the first one that I got was the basic game from 2006, I believe. I bought this at Toys R Us to play with my nephews and some of my friends, and I really like this starter set. And it's coincides with the 3.5 edition of the game, so that's how long ago it was. Return to the back of the box, which is kind of falling apart from where, as you can see. But it basically looks kind of like that, where it gives you like all the components. Brave the unknown, become a hero, everything you need to start playing now. So you have some painted miniatures, which is one really nice part about this set. I lost some of the miniatures, but I replaced them with some of my own. There's some 4 double-sided dungeon tiles. Well, let's just break it open and I'll show you what's in there. Okay, so here you have some of the foes, some of the miniatures, heroes and foes. You have the that's like fighter. Let's kind of focus on the fighter mini. Yeah, kind of a nice close-up shot of the fighter. I think that's the fighter. And then it comes with like all these enemies. Like the best mini is like the boss dragon, like it's a blue dragon. But it comes with like little other like little miniatures. There's like a dozen in all, so it's a pretty good set to have because of that. And then you have your different like character sheets for 3.5. It comes with a number of character sheets, and then let's see if I can zoom out of here. Advanced book comes with like a rule book. It tells you all the rules, but basically when I was playing this, I didn't at first realize that it was a 3.5 rule set. I guess they used this previous to they came up after this. They came up with like a dungeon master's kit, like a more advanced DM's kit. I think it was during the Essentials line in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. But it has some nice illustration of the characters, like the wizard or whatever the player characters you're gonna play, and how to play them. And it comes with like pre-made character books for all of them. So here's the wizard one, and then it has a dungeon master's guide book, which tells you how to run multiple campaigns, like the little mini campaigns that you can play with the starter set. So that I think there's like 8 in total. This is a really nice set. So more minis. Here's the fighter book, that if you're gonna play a fighter. The cleric, look at that nice illustration there. And then rogue, which we used to call thieves back in the day. But starting with 3.0 and 3.5 in the year 2000, on third edition, they changed it to rogue. Well, I guess it might have been second edition where they changed it because of the satanic scare and the parents groups that were flipping out. Oh, we're telling our kids not to be thieves, you know, that kind of nonsense. And it also comes with like the really nice stock cards. Like nowadays, we're gonna look at some later ones, but nowadays they just have kind of like paper thin, nice printed. But with this set, you got some double-sided dungeon maps and double-sided card stocks that you can use to put together. There's like 4 of them in all, and you use it to play the adventures. And then right here, if I can kind of zoom in on, it comes with dice, of course, like 6 playable dice, but they got all these different tokens that you can use for treasure. I don't know if I lost some of them. I think I have most of them. I'll have to count them, but I think most of them are here. And so you have little treasure tokens that you can give out, like potion tokens, and there's this little doors that you can put on the tiles. See, and some of them are like locked doors. See, it says locked, and some of them are like traps. So if you're the dungeon master and you're running one of the scenarios from the book, or even if you're playing your own scenario, you can take this like little trap token and put it right there on, well, let's put it like on a door, on a hallway, and then whatever's behind the door, when they reveal, wham, it's a trap, and so the characters are stuck. And it comes like little scrolls. Now, this didn't come in the set, but I added it to it for my homebrew. A couple of, they used to have the D&D minis game, and so you have the creature cards with their stat blocks and stuff. I don't know if I can focus in on that, but this one is basically a hobgoblin zombie. Let's see if I can focus better. Sorry, it's a new camera, so I'm still learning some of the focusing options on this one. Zooming in and out. Okay, guys, so it's been a couple of weeks when I first started this project, and because of life, the COVID-19 situation, and other things, I'm barely starting putting the final piece of the puzzle. And what we have here is starter set. We looked at 3.5, and this was 4th edition. This came out in 2010, although I didn't really pick it up till recently. I didn't really have a need for yet another starter set, but then I was like, oh, why not? I really like the red box. What they did with it was they replicated this look again when 5th edition came out, because they started doing the red box, but they had the it was like a branded one with stranger things. I'm not really a big fan of crossovers, so I didn't have interest in that. But this one is cool because it has that nostalgia to it, that famous Larry, I think it's Larry Elmore, if I'm not mistaken, Larry Elmore artwork, fantasy artwork. And if you look at the back, it tells you about the components that are there, including Dungeon Master's book. See if I can zoom it in. Dungeon Master's book with game rules, player's book, that's standard, dice, character sheets. That's the one thing I really like, is getting the character sheets. Although, of course, the character sheets are going to be pertinent to 4th edition, and a double-sided battle map with game. So, turn the box. Let's take a look inside. If I can get it open with one hand, because I'm trying to film. Let's see if I can get this thing open. Finally. So what does it come with? It comes with a bunch of tokens, and just like the last one, but it has cards. This is one of my favorite starting sets because other than the Essentials one, which we're going to take a look at later, which came out in 2019, this one has a lot of good components to it. And I don't have I don't remember if it came with miniatures, to be honest. I may have taken them out and put them somewhere else, but I think it just comes with the tokens to, you know. So instead of like painted minis, which is 3.5, actually let me verify that just so I'll be accurate. Looking at the back of the box. Let's see. Well, I don't want to flip everything over, so I'm just gonna assume that if I remember correctly that there are no miniatures here. You know, they skimped out on a couple of things from the 3.5 set. So you have your dice. There are your dice. No problem there. Nice looking. They're basic standard black polyhedral. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then you have in the old set, you also got these tokens for like treasure. We looked at just the 3.5 with the tokens for treasure herbs and traps that you could put on the map, and it's basically the same idea. But the other one had the monster came with minis, if you remember. This one they skimped out on the minis and they have these monster tokens instead. I can zoom in on one. Some kind of dragon. It's a black dragon. There we go. There's a dragon token. So they have all these tokens for like the different characters and the different monsters. So you get like your minions. Because the thing about 4th edition is that you had your boss like type monster. It's kind of like a video game where you had your boss monsters, but they also had these things called minions, which were like they're smaller type foes that only have like 1 hit point and they're easy to kill. But the idea was to lay them out on the map and then have tactical battles where you can place them in different positions or different parts of the terrain, and then you have to go mow down, fight the minions before you even get to the big bosses. Of course, Dungeon Master's book. If you're running the adventure, let's take a look at that real quick. It's got some serviceable, I would say, artwork. The 4th edition artwork that I really like. There's like a party of adventurers. They're able to focus on that one. So it's like a 2-page spread, and then it gives you a lot of text on mechanics, conditions, and hit points, how all that stuff works, game mechanics, as you would expect, dying, how to come back from dying. Excuse me. And then, of course, you have your player's book if you're just a player and you're not going to be running the campaign, and then it tells you one thing that this book does that I really like that they did, and I wish they did it in other, is like they basically give you a step-by-step of like if you are going to be, depending on your class, so if you're going to be playing like a warrior, for example, you start at a certain page, and it's kind of like let's see what I mean. It's like a little mini adventure. Part 1, the goblin attacks. The goblin attacks and how to get started on that. And it basically tells you, okay, well, here's how to determine your abilities, scores, and your different dexterity, ability. Basically, your skills and abilities can be determined depending on what class you are, and then you just follow the book, and the book will tell you, well, if you want to be play this type of character, like a spellcaster, turn to page whatever, and then it'll give you instructions on how to do it, and then it tells you how to attack, what your powers are, and what your defenses are, because there's some cool artwork there. Spellcaster, because basically fourth edition was primarily tactical. So you had to know how to attack, you had to know how to defend, what your saves, and they still use the different saving throws for the different saves. So you have a saving throw for a direct attack. Depending on the attack, the different saving throw that you would use. And then the other thing that came with it was this, which I really like, was they added this like the beginning of like spell cards or cards in general. So if there's this one is like human versatility. It's kind of like ability card. Like if you're playing a different character, like there's a bunch of cards for the wizard, and there's cards for like if you're a whatever you are. If you're a rogue, this is how this is what your abilities are, what your class is. And then and there are cards for like spell cards though. So if you have if you're a casting class, then the card will tell you what your powers are, so you don't have to look them up, because there is no book here. It's just the little player's handbook. And it also has cards for magic items and treasure, and it has the different powers, because the way that fourth edition mechanic works was, again, kind of similar to MMOs or a video game, where you have your every character could do something each round. They have different types of powers, like the daily powers, as opposed to like the encounter powers. So there was a power that every character could use, an encounter power we could only use once per encounter, and then there was a more powerful the at will. The at will is kind of like the cantrips. The cantrips you can use all the time without having to recharge it. So at will powers you can use anytime, and they're less powerful. But if you use the encounter powers, you'll do something else. And then your daily power, which was like the most you could only you do that once per gaming day, or once per session, once per day, because they were so powerful that you had to take a long rest before even attempting to use the power again. And then finally, it comes with a really nice double-sided map, and the map is kind of like a grid, which is what we're used to. But it's double-sided, so you have a side for interior, which you with tables and different things like that. But then you also have on the back side, you have like terrain. I don't have room to unfold it all, but basically you get the idea. It's like a bunch of hex squares where there's terrain and then you put your little tokens there. If you have minis, if you already own minis from like the third edition set, or just minis on your own, then you basically put them on the map, and there you go, you're ready to play. Sorry, I don't have a lot of room on this table, so I couldn't extend it, and I couldn't really show you as much as I wanted to. But basically, as you can see, it comes with a lot of components. It comes with almost the third 3.5 book. It's still the 3.5 starter set. It's still my favorite by far, because it has the tokens, but it also has the minis that you can collect or play on the map. And the map is not like that one. That's a nice folded two-sided map, but the map on the third edition one is still better, because it's like the cardboard, like you saw, and you can customize it, and it has preset for the preset adventures, but it also has you can use it on your own to make a homebrew one. So it's more reusable, I think, and it's sturdier. It'll probably last longer than this glossy fine paper maps, you know. So of all the sets that we looked, both of the sets we looked so far, 3.5 still beats fourth edition, but fourth edition, being a unique set, I like it, and I do like the fact that they included the cards, because the cards makes everything very accessible, very easy for beginners to understand what their powers are, what the spells are, what the components are, you know, and it depends on which class you play. So there's cards for every single. Well, it's only like basic classes, right? Like your typical warrior or fighter, your typical wizard, your typical rogue, and cleric, of course. But yeah, it still makes it easy. Plus, you got cards that talk about treasure, the different magical items that you can gain during the adventure. That's in the introduction booklet. So I like it. I think this is a fine. I think both of these sets are better than what the new. It looks like it is better than what the new 5E set is, because the new 5E set looks like it comes with a new adventure, the dice, and the and a couple of other components. But that's it. You know, they don't give you tokens. They don't give you a whole lot for your buy, in my opinion, which is a shame.